Good morning to everyone. Good evening to my friends in Pakistan, and good late night to my friend Dr. Khalid in Hong Kong. I really like to thank all of you for joining. The management committee is here, our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Farhad, Dr. Tariq Jadoon. We have two or three guests as well. I would really like to thank them. Dr. Asad Abdi, who was our founding dean, Salal Humair, who was a member of the founding team of this school, our former faculty member, colleague, Dr. Khalid Rashid. You'll also see a sprinkling of PhD students in the participants. This is the first time we've invited all PhD students, also pointing towards the fact that we're trying to make our students co-learners and co-leaders in taking the ship that we call the SSC forward. So my presentation would revolve around three points. Of course, I would like to recount some accomplishments, but then I would like to open up a multicolored box of challenges. These challenges, as Dr. Khalid Aziz was mentioning, they are important and they keep us going. And we would like to seek your advice on these challenges. And then I would also like to tingle your imagination a little bit about ideas that have been brimming in our hearts, in our minds over the past year. Our attention has been slightly diverted because of COVID, but still ideas and dreams never die. So I would like to talk a little bit about these dreams so that we can seek your counsel and advice on them as well. So, I view the SSE as an experiment in social metamorphosis, social transformation. Uh, I would like SSE, and my faculty would like SSE to become a harbinger of change in the country. We would like to do social engineering. We would like to take people out of the pangs of poverty, from the abysses of ignorance, and get them into the light of the world, give them economic prosperity, give them opportunity. For this, we really need to know where our students come from and where are they headed to. Now, thanks to Tariq Jadoon, recently we looked at the data. We've always been looking at the data, but this is the first time I've looked at this data carefully. 70% of LUMS students come from schools which are extremely high cost. And the remainder of the 30% come from schools where the fee are affordable for the upper middle class or the middle class, and only 4% of the students come from extremely low cost schools. And this has implications for SSE. And if you look at this chart that is in front of you, our school has the greatest number of students, the greatest proportion of students who are on financial aid, be it in the form of the famous NOP or other means of financial aid which the university generously offers. By the way, I forgot to mention that some of our deans are also on this meeting, so I really like to thank them as well. All right, so this is a segue into looking at where SSC students lie. And thanks to Tariq Jadoon for making this slide. If you look at if you look here, here is where most of the basic science students are clustered: physics, chemistry, and biology. And they lie below the 70% threshold. So 70% of LUM students come from elite schools, which are very high cost, and the numbers in SSE are below the 70%. Electrical engineering is somewhere around 62%. Likewise for computer science. This points to the kind of students that are admitted into the School of Science and Engineering. And therefore, their needs, their financial needs, their aspirations, their financial conditions, their demographics, their economic condition is totally different from, say, most of the students who are studying history or anthropology or politics, for example. So this has real implications for the kind of financial assistance that we need to dole out. We need to disperse to the students who are interested in making careers in science and engineering. So So this gives a snapshot of the kind of students that we admit, and I'll summarize the key challenges that arise from this picture in the forthcoming slides. Now, the second question is, where do our students mostly go? LUMS has produced about 14,000 alumni. About 65% of them, according to the data that we could cobble, are remain in Pakistan, and 20% of them go abroad, 15% are unaccounted for. SSE, over the span of the years, has produced about 3,000 alumni. 80% of these alumni are from electrical engineering and computer science, and 60% of these students remain in Pakistan. So, this number is slightly lower than the LUMS average. 40% or so are outside Pakistan. Most of them are in the United States. Students who have received an MS degree from LUMS, about 48% of them have gone abroad for their PhD studies. BS students have gone abroad, and then their number is 120, and they are enrolled in PhD programs. The SSC has produced about 61 PhD students. So this table is showing that an overwhelming majority of the graduates produced by our school are from electrical engineering and computer science, and many of them go abroad for PhD studies. But if you look at the table below, interestingly, these life sciences departments, and to an extent physics, given their small numbers, their small enrollments, have produced an astoundingly large number of students who have gone abroad for their PhD studies. So it seems that these basic science departments have really sparked the fire of curiosity, of learning, of higher education in our students. And we have a healthy number from computer science and engineering, electrical engineering, and mathematics as well. Of the 60 students who have completed their PhDs in SSE, so these are where the numbers stand. 27 from computer science and computer engineering. These are older departments. 10 from electrical engineering, 10 from maths, and a sprinkling of numbers from the other departments. So this is overall where our students are going. And we've made an active effort now to reach out to these alumni through personalized messaging. The advancement does a fairly good job of talking to the alumni, but we think that more personalized messaging with a tone of scientific fascination is essential to engage with alumni that have come out from SSE. Now, the graduate program at our school is poles apart as far as the demographics is concerned. So I think it's very important to understand that our graduate program is a small program, given the kind of ambitions that we have, and the kind of students that we engage in the graduate studies, be it master's or PhD. They come from a totally different economic and a demographic background. And thanks to LUMS and thanks to the support of all our donors, all of these students get complete financial support, and their fee is waived, although the fee is about 200% of what the next highest fee in Pakistan is. But still, the fee is completely waived. Each student gets 48 installments of a scholarship, around 50,000 rupees. So we really like to thank LUMS and all the donors for this much. These students come mostly from the middle class. They come with poor backgrounds in their undergraduate years, because we all know what the quality of undergraduate education in Pakistan and other universities is. Our faculty work really hard to polish them, to make this coal into shine with some luster, make them into diamonds. They grow with the faculty. And when they grow, they take some time. The average PhD completion time in our schools currently stands at 5 years, 5.2 years to be precise. And after they receive their PhDs, most of them go to other Pakistani universities and colleges and teach there. Here is a sample of names of different universities and colleges where our graduates are currently teaching. So I think this is really an experiment in social mobility, social uplift, people coming from the disadvantaged or the middle class of the society, getting world-class education at zero cost, and changing their lifestyles, changing their worldviews, changing how they look at the people around them, changing how they look at society, and making a positive impact. So I think this is a silent revolution in the making, and this is something we are all really proud of. Last year, through some fortuitous means, we were able to graduate about 20 PhD students. This was the biggest number we have so far in any year. So the key questions and challenges that face us from the 2 points that I've discussed are the following. How can we penetrate deeper down into the economic strata for our undergraduate admissions? What implications does this have for our application test? Is SAT the correct means of evaluating our students? When we started SSE in 2008, we had paper-based admissions, and the number of admissions applications that we received was just out of the roof. We've never met that target. That was back in 2008. So I think there is some application bias, and Dr. Tariq Jadoon mentioned merit-based scholarships. I think if you could advertise merit-based scholarships that go beyond NOP, because NOP really scratches the bottom of the pail. It looks at students who are really from the deprived sections of the society, but we're missing out on a really large middle class. And that is where the real fire for science and engineering enthusiasts lie. I think we really need to make structural changes, and we really need to think hard with data, with evidence, on how can we expand the pool of admissions. We also need to think about how do we increase enrollment in our engineering. Computer science really holds this way at the moment. Most of our students go into computer science. So I think the engineering, chemical engineering, electrical engineering, as well as all the basic science departments really have to reinvent a new paradigm for attracting students. A new narrative has to be built so that we can attract the best students. All right, so the third thing I would like to talk about, this is the third section of my talk, is about the culture at the School of Science and Engineering. We all believe in freedom and liberality. I personally do not like bureaucracy and processes to hold us back. It should be an unfettered, creative air of freedom that moves around in our hallways, in our corridors, that gives independence to instructors. We would like to encourage cross-departmental engagements. Remember that in science and engineering in itself, the conjunction "and" between science and engineering is in itself an emblem of interdisciplinarity, and you don't find this anywhere in Pakistan. That's why we have troubles talking to the Pakistan Engineering Council. Nowhere in Pakistan do we have a faculty of science and engineering. We separate them out into science versus engineering. So even encouraging cross-departmental engagements, be it in the form of joint teaching of courses, joint supervision of research students, I think this is imperative. And this is a culture that we would like to cherish and encourage in our school, let alone talk to other schools and to go across the borders of our university itself. I've tried to initiate some initiatives in my school in which staff members could choose roles for themselves. They could choose courses to be trained upon. They could laterally move across departments, and likewise for students. In the last advisory board session, we had sessions on belonging and equity. So we've constituted a school council on belonging and equity under the guidance of the LUMS central offices. All our school committees, they now are prodded with students. We have student memberships in all of our school committees. We have student ambassadors who are advising their fellow students. We are upgrading our advising office again with the help of Dr. Bilal Malik, who's at the central office. We are devising new ways of dealing with harassment. It's for the first time we have instituted staff elections, election for staff members to be represented on the school council. Previously, the dean, according to the rules, the dean used his discretion to appoint staff members on the school council, but it's for the first time that we have instituted elections for our staff members. And this comes to my slide about women and gender diversity in our school. You'll be happy to see to note that all school committees, without any exception, have women membership. Though we are struggling with faculty, women in faculty, but all our committees at least have women membership. Those could be members from the faculty or PhD students or undergraduate students, but all of our committees at the school level now have women representation. Some of these committees are led by women. One project that got derailed because of campus closure was the institution of women lounges, but we'll address this as soon as some semblance of normality returns. And looking at the gender ratio, the LUMS female to male ratio is 41. In our school, it's 32, slightly higher in the graduate program. And from comparison, I've put out numbers from our neighboring countries, Iran and India. We are slightly better than both of them. Sharif has 25% females and IIT Kanpur has 15% females. So I've picked technology-oriented schools here. In fact, some of our departments, notably the life sciences departments, have the highest number of women than in any other department in LUMS. The biology BS program is 3/4 women. In the basic sciences, the numbers are slightly better. In the engineering and computer science, they are slightly on the lower side. The business school, we are very much close to the business school here. The humanities school and the education school, they have a much higher number of percentage of women. So this is where we stand as far as women inclusion and gender diversity is concerned. So this is just a snapshot of, I think these are important points that have always been on the radar of the advisory board. And preparing this presentation, I think, was self-reflective for me. It provides a good opportunity to take stock of where we stand and where we are headed to. Another observation from the advisory board was about safety. I think we have totally revamped safety and occupational health, and the COVID provided a great opportunity to for us to introspect and look at the safety at our school. We now have 3 members in our safety office. We have a committee that is truly inclusive, that has representation from staff, from students, from across the school. We have representation from the facilities and engineering of LUMS as well. We have totally reorganized how we dispose our waste. All our fume hoods are now working. Previously, 1 year ago, none of our fume hoods was working optimally. I think now all our fume hoods, all our ventilation is up to the recommended standards. We are trying to improve the housekeeping in our laboratories using the Japanese 5 Sigma technique. The next step is to prepare a safety manual for the school and to offer corporate trainings to other universities, to other corporations inside the country. I think this is an asset that we are slowly developing. Now I would like to come to the 4th point of education. And this also links up with Khurram's idea about project teams. The electrical engineering department has done a tiny experiment, which probably can become a seed for what Khurram is already proposing. They've revamped their EE 100 course, and now there are multiple flavors of this course offered to different students, and each flavor represents a sandbox of the research that the faculty does at the higher or the graduate level. So we're trying to bring research questions, research ideas into the freshman class so that we can incite and instigate students at an early age. One of my dreams is to have, instead of a physics, chemistry, or a biology lab, an integrated science laboratory, a design studio where students can they can think about new ideas, and they can capitalize on theory and build new things, something that really cuts across not only departments, but also cuts across time, in the sense that we could do it vertically right from the fourth year to the first year to the fourth year. So I think Khurram's idea is very pertinent, and we would like to build upon this. It's already on our minds. Khurram's thoughts give us more inspiration. We've, for the first time, introduced courses with an engineering and a science code in our school. So these are truly transdisciplinary courses. Courses on forensic sciences. We've had a very popular course on environmental science. We have courses on the modern society and technology. We have a guest lecturer from the University of Texas teach our students about bio nanotechnology. So we are really trying to benefit from these multidisciplinary courses, and hopefully soon we'll also be engaging with faculty from other schools. There are already courses that our faculty offers in collaboration with the humanities school. For example, Dr. Murtaza Taj in the computer science department offers a course with Dr. Nadra in the humanities school on heritage conservation and preservation. These are cross-disciplinary courses with the business school as well. And we'll try to enhance this collaboration in the future as well. We've really benefited from the pedagogical partnerships. So pedagogical partnerships have been instituted by the university, by the Vice Chancellor. The Learning Institute is leading these partnerships. And these are partnerships between students and faculty. Some of them are writing books, some students are making documentaries, some of them are making websites, really projects that translate and transcribe their academic knowledge into something useful for the society, or something useful for the academia. We have recently initiated an apprenticeship scheme in which our students could do internships with our faculty and staff with the sophisticated instruments that we have. So why not leverage all the great instruments, the great facilities that we generally boast of in the School of Science and Engineering. We also have student assistant editors of our magazine. I'm going to talk about this. We have direct communication with our students. I myself have fortnightly conversations and dialogues with students. Students are designing our websites. As I mentioned, we are revamping our advisement system. We have online ambassadors who are students. We are moving from faculty advisement. We're keeping faculty advisement, but we are also introducing greater peer support and group support for our students. And we are working with the advisement office in creating handbooks and pamphlets and websites that can help students in their academic and social journey at LUMS. So there are a few challenges and open questions about education. There are always challenges. So let me recount those. It's probably the first time I'm saying this, but I think it's been 10 years into the existence of our school, 12 years to be precise. We started off with a core curriculum. I think our core curriculum needs a revamping now, needs an overhauling. We need to talk more about energy. We need to talk more about climate. We need to talk more about the environment. We need to talk more about systems biology, about neuroscience in our core courses. I think we really need to take a look with a fresh breath at our core course. Our graduate program does not have a core that cuts across the school. We really need to devise a mechanism where all our graduate students can have some core courses. Dr. Farhat has already talked about space for courses outside SSC, so I will not belabor this point again. We need to work more on the peer review of teaching. While we prepare our tenure dossiers, we've already seen some signs of greater examples of peer review of our teaching. We need to strengthen this further. We need our faculty, we need to impress upon them to be open to the idea of having colleagues come and sit in our classes. even though it's a declared rule that any faculty member can go and sit in anyone else's class, but still I feel personally that faculty are hesitant. So we really need to break these barriers. I've talked about the design lab. There are some insidious barriers in our school about cross-departmental supervision and cross-departmental teaching. I think we really need to prudently and judiciously and address these issues so that we can avoid territorialism of any kind. Now I would like to come to the topic of research. Sorry, I'm going slightly overboard here with respect to time. For the first time, we've captured all the research that happens in SSC and put it into 7 bins. We were able to do that. Most of the research that we do, about 80 to 90% of it, falls into these 7 bins. So I would like to speak out the names of these bins because they are important. So we have groups working on sustainable innovation in the food, water, energy nexus. We have faculty members working on areas revolving around the quantum revolution. We have lots of faculty members working on health and medicine, technology and development, numerics and mathematical modeling, nanomaterials and computational science, and the Internet of Things. And tomorrow you'll hear from some of our colleagues about some of the grand challenges that they aim to solve. All right. So, however, this comes to the issue. This brings me to the issue of finances and financial sustainability. I think since we've launched our experimental programs in our school, the financial input from LUMS hasn't really gone up. So, for example, this slide shows the startup grants that we offer to our faculty compared to the dollar rate. So this experimental support that is given out to our faculty for research has gone down over the years. So I think we need to address this. This is something that takes my night sleep away mostly. So that's why most of our faculty turn to grants. In the past 10 years or so, our faculty have applied for about grants worth 9.6 billion. The funds approved per faculty is an astounding 40 million. Each faculty member on average has about 10 grants or 11 grants approved. Each faculty member has submitted about 16 grant applications. So this is a snapshot of the efforts that our faculty are making in terms of grant writing. Publications, yes, I think this goes without saying that we have we play an important role in LUMS in terms of knowledge creation. Now, what do we need to do? We already publish in the Nature group in journals associated with science. The next question is, can we jump higher? Can we publish in the Nature? Can we publish in Science? The question about financial sustainability remains. One problem that we're currently facing is about large equipment. If you recall, we submitted a PC1 to the government of Pakistan worth 1.5 billion. This was stalled due to political reasons and other reasons. We never got those equipment. HEC in its new rules does not allow us to spend more than 30% of our grants on equipment and consumables. So where is this equipment going to come from? This has to come from alternative sources. The only alternative source that I can think of which allows large equipment donations or large equipment grants is the Wellcome Trust. We've already submitted an application to the Wellcome Trust in that regard, but this is a hard problem that is going to hit us. About the question of interdisciplinarity, the center of gravity of our multidisciplinary projects currently lies in our departments. So I think the role and the definition of centers, this has to be clarified. I think centers, in my opinion, they are protrusions of our school and our university into the outside world. They help us reach out to the outside world. But our disciplines, by their very design, they are interdisciplinary. So I think we really need to find the right locus of interdisciplinarity here. It could be in the departments, it could be in the centers. So this is a question I think I would pose to the advisory board to give us advice on. We need to get postdocs. We need some critical sizes. We need more tenure line, perhaps. Synaptic hires. Hires, Dr. Arshad has already mentioned this. Interdisciplinary faculty member who do not belong to any department. What process do we follow for their appointment? How do they get promoted? Where do they land? And of course, probably we need more copies or more alter egos of our most esteemed Sayyid Babar Ali, probably a Coach Foundation, another Coach Foundation. Probably some of our alumni can come up with striking such a foundation. We need endowments from the industry. Last 2 minutes, please. We've also revamped how we communicate with the world. We have a website. We have a magazine, The Particle. I would like to make our science communication efforts grow into science journalism. We've also forayed into filmmaking, and that's where I would stop. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sabieh, for a very rich presentation. And I know we have one question.